I'll admit, it's an eye-catching title. A cryptid associated with cold climates rampaging around Southern California, it gets your attention. It also feels less like a Goosebumps idea and more like a Mary Pope Osborne thing. Like if they had retitled it to Surfing with the Snowman, it would slot itself into the Magic Treehouse series. For the first half of its run, Goosebumps didn't really sell itself on goofy monster antics. It at least tried to seem like a genuinely spooky book series. But now we're in the back half of Goosebumps, the era of egg monsters from Mars, vampire breath, and the blob that ate everyone. Readers beware, you're in for a scare is a marketable tagline, but it is not a mission statement anymore. Our protagonist this time around is Jordan Blake, and he might be the most empty Goosebumps protagonist yet. He doesn't have hobbies, he isn't particularly smart or particularly dumb. You can only really define him by his relationships with other characters. He's slightly antagonistic to his younger sister Nicole, and they live next door to their mutual best friend Lauren. Jordan Nicole's father is a nature photographer who travels the world, which presumably contributed to Jordan's parents getting divorced. I think this is the first time we've had divorced parents on Goosebumps. Hey, Stein, shaking it up I see. Who knows, maybe you'll start putting people of color in these books. Really, the only thing you can say about Jordan as a character is that he lives in Pasadena, California, and it's very hot in Pasadena, California, even in the middle of winter. And Jordan wishes for snow every day. He's never seen snow. Actually, I got curious, so I pulled up the weather records for Pasadena in December of 1995, when this book was published and presumably when it was set, and the average temperature was 51 degrees Fahrenheit, or 10.5 degrees Celsius, which is almost sweater weather. I checked a few Decembers before and after, and yeah, that seems to be an average winter in Pasadena. But hearing Stein describe it, you'd think they were on the surface of the sun. I squinted and stared some more. Everything appeared bleached in the sunlight. Even the grass looked almost white. "It's so hot," Lauren whined. "This is supposed to be winter. It's winter everywhere else. A normal winter has snow and ice and sleet and freezing rain and cold, cold air. What do we get? Nothing but sun. Why do we have to be so hot?" One thing you gotta remember is that R.L. Stine was born and raised in Ohio, then moved to New York City, and he probably has a very comically exaggerated idea as to the heat in Southern California. By contrast, I was born in Southern California, and yeah, it gets into triple digits during the summer, but the winters are fine. I mean, shit, it snowed in Los Angeles in 1989. That was only 6 years before this book. It made the news. Jordan would have been 6 years old when that happened, but here he's all, "Oh, woe is me, for I have lived in Pasadena all my life and have never seen snow." Beyond that, we're just doing the default Goosebumps child thing where everyone is super invested in pranks. We waste some time with Jordan swapping out a roll of film his father took of wild bears with a roll full of pictures of teddy bears, and that makes Dad chuckle and reminisce about a prank he pulled on a colleague years ago, and this story takes him 2 pages to tell and doesn't have anything to do with the story. We're introduced to 2 bully characters, Kyle and Kara, who go around town spraying people with super soakers, and then they disappear until the very last page of the book. And we have a moment where Nicole trips into her father's compost pile, which will never factor into the plot again. R.L. Stine is a bad writer. Finally, the plot kicks in. Jordan, Nicole's father, has been given an assignment in Alaska to follow up on some reported sightings of an elusive creature, the Abominable Snowman. If Dad can get a photograph of this creature, it would shake the world of science to its core. And Dad is chomping at the bit for that exposure. And this time, he can't arrange a babysitter for the kids, so Jordan and Nicole are going to have to tag along. Actually, I'm a little confused as to how this works. The kids don't appear to be in school, which implies it's Christmas break, but there's no mention of Christmas decorations, and the kids don't go, "Wow, we're going to celebrate Christmas and or New Year's with real snow." Put a pin in this detail. I have a theory about this book for later. So the family all gets into an airplane and flies to the fictional town of Icknack, Alaska. There they meet their guide, a mean-looking mountain man named Arthur Maxwell, who 100% believes in the snowman and knows it to be a killer.
He exists all right," Arthur declared. "Friend of mine, another musher. He was out in a blizzard one day. Ran smack into the snow monster. The monster picked up one of the dogs and made off with him. My friend chased after him, trying to get the dog back. Never found him, but he could hear the dog whining. Pitiful howls. Whatever happened to that dog, it sounded pretty bad.
He cleared his throat and continued.
My friend came back to town. He and another guy went out to try and capture the snow monster. Darn foolish, if you ask me.
What happened to them? I asked.
Don't know, Arthur said. They never came back.
Maybe they got lost in the tundra, Dad suggested.
Doubt it, Arthur said. Those two knew what they were doing. The monster killed them. That's what happened.
And Arthur's stories continue. A news team came up to investigate and all died. One found frozen in the ice, another never found. A local woman saw the monster from a distance chewing on what looked like human bones. There seems to be a real threat of harm and death when it comes to the Abominable Snowman. And because I never learn, I started to get excited. The story seemed to be building up to some kind of classic 50s monster movie thing. The goofy but deadly monster, the city boy who thinks he's smarter than he is while heading into the wilderness, the isolated locations, the gruff expert who warns the city boy about the real danger of death, but the city boy ignores his warnings. And, bonus, the suffocating round-the-clock darkness and chilling cold of an Alaskan winter. It's like a film you might see referenced in the lyrics of science fiction double feature. Yeah, it's a corny type of story, but it's also a lot of fun. And I was hoping Stein was going to tap into that. So the plan is for Arthur to guide the family to a remote cabin out in the tundra with some sled dogs and a radio, and Dad can go wander around and take some pictures. On the way, Jordan falls into a crevasse hidden in the snow, and we learn that this entire area is littered with pits and hidden caves that are easy to miss and fall into. Hey look, something established that'll have a payoff. So the four of them make it to the cabin and call it a night. The next morning, Dad is all excited because there's distinct Abominable Snowman tracks outside the cabin. Except Jordan confesses he made them while everyone was sleeping. Now this book is in first person, and Jordan performs to the reader that he's shocked by this discovery. So we have an unreliable narrator, but only for this part, because it was the only way for the fake-out scare to work. This is a rule break, and rule breaks aren't always a bad thing if done with purpose, but it feels like the only reason the rules were broken here was to keep up with a quota of chapter-ending scares, and frankly it's a bit disrespectful to the young readers. You had alternatives, Stein. Maybe Nicole made the footprints to get back at her brother for something he did. Maybe Arthur made the footprints to try and scare this family back to civilization. Maybe the actual Abominable Snowman made them and we get some actual real scares. Why are you so bad at this, Stein? So everyone spends a day wandering around outside looking for clues of the Abominable Snowman. The dogs start to freak out, and Arthur thinks the beast is near and doesn't want to be involved with this anymore. No physical evidence is found, so Dad settles for taking beautiful wilderness shots and they call it a day, though Jordan has trouble sleeping. I rolled onto my side, trying to get comfortable. It was after 8 o'clock, but still light outside. The sun filtered through the window of the cabin. The light reminded me of when I was little. Mom used to try and make me take a nap in the afternoon. I never could sleep in the daytime. Wait, but winter in Alaska, the sun should have set hours ago. Depending on how north you are, Alaska gets as much as 6 hours of daylight a day with sunset at 3 p.m. to as little as no daylight at all. If you're in the northmost parts of Alaska, you're looking at 67 straight days of darkness. I thought that was going to be a contributing factor to the scares, the fact that it's always dark. I mean, there's a vampire movie about this exact thing. It should be a no-brainer. Now, at first I thought Stein didn't know about Alaska's long winter nights and long summer days, but later Jordan mentions the sun being up past midnight, so I started to think Stein had somehow flipped them, that he thought it was long winter days and, I guess, long summer nights. But then it all clicked for me. The first draft of this book took place in the summer. That's why it's so hot in Pasadena. That's why the kids are so casual about not being in school. That's why there's no mention of the holidays. And that's why there's daylight past midnight in Alaska. In fact, the only evidence that this story takes place in winter at all is that characters directly say, it's winter. So yeah, I'm 99% convinced that this story was originally written to take place in summer, and I have no clue why Stein changed it to winter. Anyway, in the middle of the night, Jordan and Nicole wake up and spot Arthur, clearly scared, pack up the snow dogs with their supplies and make a run for it. The kids chase him out into a snowstorm and get properly lost. After wandering around for a bit, they fall into another one of those underground caves. Searching for a way out, they come across the one, the only, the Abominable Snowman, encased in a cube of ice like it was a caveman from Scooby-Doo. One interesting detail is that, despite what the cover art suggests, the snowman is actually really short, only about a head taller than the kids. Before the kids can really process what they're seeing, the ice cracks and the snowman breaks out, alive and well. The kids have nowhere to run as the snowman charges them, but instead of attacking them, it grabs their backpacks and pulls out their trail mix. And he doesn't even pick through it to just eat the M&Ms. That's how you know he's not human. After eating all of the trail mix, he grabs the kids and leads them out of the cave, but they manage to escape his grasp and they make their way back to the cabin. They tell their father what they saw. Dad's skeptical, but agrees to be led back to the cave, where they once again find the Abominable Snowman encased in ice. Dad's got dollar signs in his eyes. What's better than photos of an Abominable Snowman? Capturing a live Abominable Snowman. Dad walked all the way around the block of ice, rubbing his chin. If we cut the ice a bit, it might fit into the supply trunk, he said. Then we could carry the snowman back to California in the block of ice, locked in the trunk. It's airtight, so the ice won't melt. Stein, being airtight doesn't make something an icebox. You need insulation and even then the laws of thermodynamics, whatever. The kids also put a couple of snowballs into the trunk so that they can show their friends real snow when they get back. A lot of stuff happens between chapters. Dad calls for help on the radio, they get out of there, we never find out what happens to Arthur, and the family flies all the way back to Pasadena with a Yeti in their luggage. They never say the word Yeti, by the way. This is a children's book, and why would we want to teach children new words? Dad ends up getting an invite from a Los Angeles Science Center to discuss his findings. Instead of, bringing the Abominable Snowman with him, he leaves it in the dark room with the AC on full blast, leaving Jordan and Nicole home alone with their friend Lauren. Jordan decides it'd be fun to have a snowball fight in Pasadena, so he opens the trunk and passes around a few snowballs. Hey Lauren, think fast! Nicole threw the snowball at Lauren. It missed. Splat. It hit a tree. Nice shot, Ace, I cried sarcastically, but then I gaped at the tree in shock. The snowball, it didn't crumble to the ground. It started to grow. Thick white snow spread quickly up the tree trunk and over the branches. Within seconds, the entire tree was covered with snow. This seems to be what most people talk about when they bring up this book. The sudden third act pivot from being a story about an abominable snowman to being a story about magic snow. The snow is never established, never hinted at. It's just random magic snow. And I kind of like it. Well, no, that's not true. I like the idea of it, even if the execution is terrible. It's a classic be careful what you wish for story. Jordan hated how hot Pasadena was and wanted to see snow. Well, here you go. Here's your snow, you little shit. An infectious magic snow that spreads over everything. That book writes itself. At first, all the children would be excited about there being snow, and it finally being cool outside, and we finally get a white Christmas, or the school closes, but it keeps getting colder. Utilities start to shut down. Nobody's prepared for this kind of weather, and things become dire. That would make a good, solid Goosebumps book, I think. But it makes a lousy final act for this book about an abominable snowman. The kids play around with this magic snow for a bit, but Nicole gets hit with a snowball and just flash freezes, becoming ice solid. This is a children's story, and being frozen in a children's story doesn't kill you, so Jordan and Lauren try to defrost her, but nothing works. The only thing Jordan can think of is to free the abominable snowman. Sure, why not? Thankfully, there's some trail mix in the kitchen, so he brings it out to the frozen snowman, who proceeds to break out of the ice for that sweet, stale almond and out-of-date pretzel stick mix. Once he's had his fill, the snowman sees the frozen Nicole and gives her a huge hug. It seems his body absorbs, the magic snow. So Nicole thaws out quickly. He then rolls around the snow in the backyard, absorbing it, and runs away, never to be seen again. Oh, were you expecting a story about an abominable snowman wreaking havoc in the suburbs of Southern California? Maybe go to the beach and terrorize a sunglasses stand? Well, tough shit. The book's over. Well, not quite. We do get a scene on the very last page of the bullies, Kyle and Kara. Remember them? I don't. Grabbing some leftover snow and throwing it at each other. Whatever. This book is frustrating in a lot of ways. Its pacing is garbage. It spends way too much time establishing things with no payoff and paying off things that were not established. The Alaska stuff takes so long that there's just no time for antics in Pasadena. You know, that thing the title was promising. And the last minute magic snow is just baloney. The number of factual errors that can be contributed to the story originally being written for summer hints to a very poor editing process. And I hate to think of the kids who got a test question wrong about Alaskan winters because of this book. As for the traditional Pasadena rewrite, first we have to decide what the book should even be. Should it be a scary monster story, or should it be a goofy Harry and the Hendersons tale of a misunderstood abominable snowman in Pasadena? Or maybe, just maybe, can we do both? So here's my pitch. First off, we've got to nail the pacing. Cut out everything unrelated to the snowman. No pranks, no compost pile, and no magic snowballs. We need as much page space as we can muster. But we do keep the bully characters. Jordan actually hangs out with them, thinking he's part of their crew, but they're just as abusive to him as they are to their other victims. Our story takes place in winter. Proper winter. Christmas break. And the Alaskan tundra is dark all day. We get one or two short chapters in Pasadena to introduce the characters. It's not super hot during the summer, so instead Jordan is bummed that this is the first Christmas he's spending without his mom. He's having fights with his dad and his sister Nicole. Frankly, he's just over the whole family unit thing right now. Then, out of the blue, Dad gets an assignment to Alaska. For the first part of it, a lot of the same stuff happens. They hire Arthur as their guide. He tells them stories of people getting killed, which is actually in total conflict to the nice, huggable snowman in the original book. We'll address that later. And the four of them head to the cabin. The abominable snowman becomes a factor right away. No fake footprints. These prints are real. There's something out in the darkness, walking circles around the cabin, digging claw marks into the wood of the walls. The dogs are freaking out. Arthur takes their gear and leaves them behind. He says he's sorry, but maybe it'll be distracted long enough eating the kids to give him time to escape. Something big and hairy and monstrous attacks the cabin, and the kids and Dad make a run for it, but they get separated. Jordan and Nicole tumble into a hidden cave, and there they find the abominable snowman. Or rather, they find a abominable snowman. This one's a lot smaller than the one attacking the cabin, about as big as the kids. And it's gentle, scared of them more than they're scared of it. They don't know what to make of this, but then there's a roar at the mouth of the cave. A second abominable snowman. The smaller snowman ushers the kids to hide behind some rocks. And from their hiding spot, they see this massive, cruel-looking beast who walks in and drops something. It's Dad! He's captured and unconscious. The bigger snowman bullies the smaller snowman and then leaves. The kids rush to their dad and wake him up. If they want to get out of this alive, they need to get back to the cabin and get to that radio. The good abominable snowman seems to have a little understanding, so he takes Jordan's hand and leads the family through the snowstorm back to the wrecked cabin. They call in for rescue, but the bad abominable snowman shows up. There's a chase. He's almost got the kids, but then good snowman finally decides to stand up for himself and fights the bad snowman. The two tussle. Good snowman is small, but he's crafty, and he tricks the bad snowman into falling into a deep pit, defeating him. That's when the rescue helicopter shows up, but not knowing what's happening, they see the good snowman and shoot him with a tranquilizer dart, stuff made for huge polar bears. The snowman falls unconscious, and Dad decides, hey, this'll make me rich. The snowman is put in a cage and flown back to Pasadena. Now, we should have more time for Abominable Snowman and Pasadena hijinks. though not as much as I'd like. These books are short at 120 pages. The snowman is miserable in his cage at the Pasadena Science Institute or whatever, so Jordan and Nicole decide to break him out. We fit in as many goofs as we can. They have to hide from authorities, so they put the snowman in like a Hawaiian shirt and sun hat. There's some stuff with a Christmas tree. I don't know, I'll think of something if a publisher picks me up. At one point, they encounter Jordan's bully friends, and with the snowman by his side, Jordan realizes that they're not really his friends, and he breaks ties with them, probably pulling some kind of crafty prank. Finally, Dad catches up with his kids, mad that they do this, but the kids convince him that the Abominable Snowman is miserable and should go home. Dad realizes the errors of his ways, how he became the big bully in this situation, and he agrees. They fly back to Alaska and let the snowman go, and watch in awe as he's reunited with a whole family of abominable snowmen. Jordan sighs as he looks at his own family. It was a pretty good Christmas after all. But as they're flying home to California, there's a bumping noise coming from the cargo hold. Suddenly, part of the floor tears away and a vicious, clawed mitt climbs up from the floor. The evil Abominable Snowman has snuck onto the plane. Roll credits. Yeah, it's a little bit derivative, but I think there's a good mix of genuine scares and goofy children's book antics that live up to the title. Plus, way more actual Abominable Snowman action. I think this book is Goosebumps at its most visibly careless. Carelessly considered, carelessly edited, carelessly fact-checked. Goosebumps is the patron saint of, it's for kids, who cares if it's good? And I despise that attitude. It's hardly the worst book in the series, but after taking a month off from Goosebumps to work on other projects, coming back to this was like getting dunked into an ice bath. A nice reminder that, oh yeah, I hate this. I give the Abominable Snowman of Pasadena a Bart Simpson's knockoff t-shirt out of 10.